All right, Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank is only in theaters now. I know, this movie got to theaters, but, some Pixar movies haven't gotten to theaters in a while, like Luca and Turning Red. Like, what the fuck is happening here? By the way, this review is not for kids. I know this is a kid's movie, but I'm about to tear this movie apart. So I'm going to be swearing a lot. Also, yes, there are cars going by me and stuff. I am recording kind of near the movie theater. It was raining really hard when I got out, so I was like, all right, there's this one spot I know where there's an awning, so I'll go record in the car under there. But yeah, if you hear cars passing by or trucks going, there's a bunch of semis that park over here, so just ignore it. I'm in between movies right now, or else I would review this at home. I'm actually going to see The Gray Man in a little bit, which actually doesn't release until next week on Netflix, but due to some theaters having it, I get to see it a week early, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. The cast we got here is Micheal, Cera as Hank. By the way, I'm reading off of notes here. Samuel L. Jackson as Jimbo. Ricky Gervais as Ika Chu. Kylie Kuoka, probably saying that wrong, as Emiko. Mel Brooks as the Shogun. George Takei, I always forget how to say his name, as Oga. Gabriel Iglesias as Chuck. We have Demon Hansu as Sumo. And Michelle Yeoh as Yuki. Really great voice cast for sure. I mean, having these legendary actors like Michelle Yeoh and Ricky Gervais and Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, Micheal, Cera, I wouldn't say he's quite legendary, but he's a very famous comedic actor. It's crazy that these high-named actors, like these A-list actors, are in this movie of all movies. I mean, stuff like this has happened before, where you have really great actors in really bad animated movies and just bad movies in general. Yeah, I mean, like, they either get paid a really good amount to be in these crappy movies, or they're just contractually obligated to do it. It might be a little bit of both, honestly, with this one. But yeah, I mean, somebody like Samuel L. Jackson, it's just like, man, this dude's been in Pulp Fiction. I mean, he's been in some of the greatest movies, and now they have him in this fucking Blazing Saddles / Kung Fu Panda ripoff. Yeah, I haven't seen Blazing Saddles, but from what I hear, this is basically supposed to be like that. That's like the goal with the story, but I heard the movie's also slightly problematic by today's standards. But yeah, I mean, you have Hank, played by Micheal, Cera, who's a dog in a cat's world, basically. Not really. Basically, wherever the cats live in that country, dogs aren't allowed. He wants to learn to be a samurai, so Ricky Gervais's character, Ika Chu, decides, hey, go be the samurai for this town so I can just, wipe you out and wipe out the town for my own personal gain. So yeah, that's basically the main plot. And then you have Jimbo, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who's like, all right, I'll train you and be your mentor. But that's pretty much the plot there. And then the rest of the movie is just fart humor, like fart jokes, poop jokes, pee jokes, fucking toilet humor. Honestly, there's an actual toilet in this movie that's like a very integral part to the finale, which is crazy to say. But just a lot of really dumb humor. And if it's not like toilet humor, it's just like meta jokes, taking lines from other movies, or them trying to be really self-aware and be like, oh, we're in a movie right now, so let's, break the fourth wall. And for any other movie, I think it would have worked fine. And even here, I think it worked okay towards the end there. But it didn't make anything any less cringy by them being self-aware. I mean, the jokes here, I mean, it's a kid's movie, but I would say, like, there's some kids out there that would even be like, all right, whatever, man, in terms of some of these jokes. I mean, there's plenty of fart and poop jokes in here that kids seem to love. I mean, even I laugh at it sometimes, but here I was just like, you're just doing the same thing that all these other stupid animated movies are doing and not doing it as well. Not to say that a lot of the animated movies that have that humor are any good, but like in terms of those movies being compared to this one, oof, it's a big oof for sure. I don't know, man. I mean, there was even a joke in this movie that a kid a few rows behind me like predicted right before the character said it, and I was just like, wow, that kid sounds like they're probably like 6, 7, maybe 8, and they're predicting jokes in this movie. So what does that tell you about the writing? honestly, the kids in this movie, there was one kid that was just screaming and crying the whole time. The other kids were mostly quiet. They laughed at some stuff, but the people that were laughing most at this were the adults, which I was really confused by. There's one adult pretty much in the top row that just lost his shit over one joke. And maybe I wasn't really paying attention to the joke, but when the joke was said and he started laughing, I was just like, wait, did something funny just happen? Because either I wasn't paying attention or your level of comedy is just fucking brain dead, apparently. So yeah, I think the adults in the theater definitely had a lot more fun than I did, probably more fun than their kids did. Part of that might have been because maybe they were a little tipsy. Yes, the theater I go to lets you drink alcohol. It serves alcohol there. So maybe that was part of it, but maybe it wasn't. And they actually just thought it was funny, which might be even worse. But, yeah, I mean, there's really not much to talk about with the plot here because I basically already told you. It's just about Hank wanting to become a samurai, Jimbo teaching him to be a samurai, and then Ricky Gervais' character just being like, hey, take them out. It's pretty straightforward. None of the characters are really completely likable in here. Emiko, she's like a kid character. I think she was kind of cute, but other than that, like, I didn't like any of the characters in here. Hank was kind of a little asshole, to be honest, and he was always full of himself, even though he literally had no skill whatsoever. I'm really running out of things to say here. It's just, let me look at my notes here. I mean, I said the slapstick here is done really poorly. I've seen slapstick done so much better in so many other movies, and honestly, I've seen the same slapstick jokes that they do in this movie a million other times, so they're not doing anything new here. I don't know if I already said this, but it's supposed to be like Blazing Saddles, but it does remind me more of Kung Fu Panda, just because, you know, that's what I grew up with. But I even debated on leaving in the last, 25 minutes, and I actually did leave. I left maybe 7 or 8 minutes before the movie ended. I was just like, I've seen enough. I've seen what I need to see, so I don't think I need to suffer anymore. I wouldn't say I was suffering. It's not the worst movie I've ever watched. It's not the worst movie I've even watched this year. I still think Morbius is worse. I would rather watch this movie again than Morbius, which says a lot. Just fucking hate that movie. Yeah, by the way, this review is not for kids because I'm ripping this shit apart right now. But, yeah, let me see here. I wrote down the people in the theater were enjoying it way too much. Honestly, they were. They were laughing at everything, and I was just like, and it wasn't even the kids really that were laughing at everything. It was the adults, that brought their kids with them. Kids didn't seem like they were having as much fun as the adults were, which is interesting to me for sure. The final fight, and this isn't like a Marvel movie, so I don't care about spoilers and nobody else should. The final fight literally takes place on top of a giant toilet, and it speaks volumes about this movie, honestly. This whole movie is basically just a fucking toilet full of shit to me, honestly. That's literally what it is. It's very unoriginal. Just very, very cringy humor that even kids probably wouldn't like it to a certain extent. I don't know if I already said it or not, but there was literally a kid that predicted one of the jokes. I think I might have said that. But yeah, let me see. I think that's really all I have for notes. I wasn't planning on making this a super long review, to be honest, but will this end up being one of my, in my top 10 worst movies of this year? Most likely. That's mainly the reason why I watched it, just to rip on it and tell people how bad it was, and then, when the year is over, put it on my top 10 worst of this year. I think right now, where it stands, this is probably the third worst movie I've seen this year. The first one being Morbius, the second one being Family Camp. That movie was completely unwatchable and almost worse than Morbius, but I have to stick with Morbius just because fuck you, Sony. But yeah, I'd probably put this at the third worst movie I've watched this year. And I've watched some bad ones. I've watched more bad movies than good ones. But, oftentimes I say, oh, I don't hate it. And I usually give it a decent score. But it never ends up on my top 10 worst or best of the year. So for this one, I think I'm going to put it at a 3 out of 10. That seems pretty accurate. Like, I don't hate it, and I'm giving it credit because there are some kids, and probably most kids, for the for the most part, between ages like maybe 4 to like maybe 9 would find this movie fun. Maybe 9. 10's pushing it. But this movie is made for kids at the end of the day, and I think most kids would enjoy it. But I would say if you're a parent and your kid wants to go see it, I mean, make them happy. Go take them to the theater. Maybe go see Lightyear instead. It's a better movie. I'm pretty sure it's still out in theaters. But, I mean, if your kid's not talking about it and you're like, I want to take my kid to a movie, but I'm wondering if I should take him to see this, please don't. I mean, most adults are not going to be like the adults I went to the movies. Well, I didn't go with them, but the most adults aren't going to be like the adults that were in the theater with me watching this movie. Most adults are going to find this painful to watch and will absolutely need a drink to get through it. In fact, I was even debating on getting a drink so I could get through it too, but, I had to drive and all that. But, yeah, not a good movie at all, but I gave it a 3 out of 10. Giving it the benefit of the doubt because at the end of the day, this is a kid's movie, and I do think most kids would enjoy it. But, yeah, that's really all I have to say about Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. God, I really hope they don't make a sequel to this because I do not want to watch it at fucking all. And if they do, oh my God. I might even just have to say, like, if they do make a sequel, I might just have to say, fuck no. Fuck no. I don't think this movie is going to make enough money to warrant a sequel, but crazier things have happened, so we'll really have to wait and see. I don't think so. I think this is a one and done deal. Like I said, go see Lightyear instead. I'm pretty sure that's still in theaters. It's not like the best Pixar movie, it's not the best animated movie, but it's leagues better than this shit. So don't waste your time, don't waste your money. That is all I have for this review. I will see you in the next one where I review The Gray Man starring Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling. I almost said Chris Hemsworth, but yeah, that's all I got for you. See you in the next one.